Hello and welcome to this community newspaper's Facebook program, Excellence in Education. This is Marta Perez, and our mission is to expose and inspire excellence in education. And before I introduce our extremely important guest, a person who is educational royalty. Please note that here at Community Newspaper, we use all the safeguards possible. We wore our masks in, we use hand sanitizers, we check our temperature and have this plexi. Please follow us on Facebook via our chat. And you can also watch us on YouTube and Twitter at Miami Community Newspaper and be able to interact with us as well. Now, please allow me to introduce a most influential figure in modern American education. He is the inimitable Eduardo Padrón, former president of Miami-Dade College. And as if that title is not impressive enough, it doesn't even begin to explain the contributions of this amazing man. Because during his long tenure, he took a sleepy junior college and converted it to arguably the most important post-secondary school in the nation, with 8 campuses and more than 165,000 students. He has received so many awards and so many distinctions and recognitions, including the Presidential Medal of Freedom, that if I were to list them, the program would be finished and we wouldn't have I wouldn't have finished telling you about that. He is also a great teacher, an excellent writer. Time magazine has listed him as one of the 10 best college presidents in the United States. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the emphasis of our program, Excellence in Education. So it is most appropriate for us to find out just how this very creative and educated man became such a successful humanitarian and successful college president. Eduardo Padrón is a visionary of the tallest order, and we are so honored to have him in our community, and I am so honored to have him on this program. And I will be asking him about how he achieved all of this. So please welcome to the show, Dr. Eduardo Padrón. Welcome, Dr. Padrón. What
Thank
an
you,
honor.
Dr. Perez. It's quite a pleasure
Yes.
and privilege to be here with you. You know, we have known each other for a long, long time, and I've always admired your dedication
Thank
to
you.
education and your love for it.
Yes,
so
sir.
it's a real pleasure to be here with you.
Thank you so much. What an honor to have you. And Dr. Padrón, at a time when every politician runs on education, where we know about the competition with other countries, etc., all the social problems, how did you become so successful? How did you move this college forward? And what was your vision all of that time?
Well, I have always believed that education is the key to the success of every individual, especially as we have now moved into the 21st century. We know that a post-secondary education is critical for people to be able to get the good jobs that are being developed in our economy. You know, if you think back 40, 50 years ago, most people, most Americans could go into factories, could go into offices, make a good salary, stay there for 30 years, and retire with a good pension. Well, that's hardly possible today because things have changed drastically. The pace of change have moved at an incredible speed. And what you find is that most of the jobs that are being created today require a post-secondary credential. And if you don't have that, you probably are going to be relegated to being a cycle of poverty for the rest of your life. And that's not what America stands for. We want to stay as the most important country in the world, and we need to educate our people. And Miami-Dade College has been a beacon of hope for this community. I always say there is hardly a household in Miami-Dade County that has not been touched by the college. It's a place that gave me my opportunity because I came here as a teenage refugee from Cuba and did a year and a half of high school, Miami High. And after that, I wanted to go to college because when I departed my country, my former country, my mother made me promise that no matter what happened, that I would go to school and I would go to college. And I really applied to every possible college in the United States using all my savings from part-time jobs, etc. Applied to the top schools in the nation. I was rejected by all of them. So they told me there was a school in the north end of the county that had just recently opened and I should go check it out. Well, that school at that time was called Dade County Junior College, saved my life,
Wow.
changed my life, gave me the opportunity with a very open door. And I've always wanted to be able to give back what I received. So I went on, got my PhD in economics, went to a few different schools, and decided that I wanted to do the same thing that was done for me to others. And so that's the spirit that has guided me all these years. I am the luckiest person in the world because I have had the opportunity to see the lives of so many people change. This school has been a miracle in many, many ways. And it's founded on the belief that excellence, academic excellence, and access can go hand in hand. Most people feel that because you have open access, you cannot have quality education. What we have proven at Miami-Dade College is that academic excellence and open access can go hand in hand. And it has been demonstrated time and time again. When you looked at this community, people like you, but so many others, professionals, both in the public sector and the private sector, who went through Miami-Dade College, they are the leaders of this community. From Congress all the way to our legislature, to our county commission, to the heads of the major industries, the heads of the major accounting firms, the heads of the major banks, the heads of the major, the hospitals, in all of the professions. The people who are leading the way in Miami-Dade County are graduates of Miami-Dade College. And I'm proud to say I'm MDC. I attended Miami-Dade College and have been honored, and it's been a privilege to be able to lead the institution for so many years. I worked at Miami-Dade College for 51 years until 2019 when I stepped down. And I have to tell you, I feel like, I'm blessed to have had that opportunity.
Dr. Padron, there's so many questions that pop up. Well, number one, the reason, the impetus, and I this is where I am very strong for your success is your little Cuban mother before she sent her adored son here, she put that grain of that nugget of gold in your mind. You better get an education. So many of our students don't have that opportunity, and it pains me because I think that impacts their lives, the fact that their families do not value education. uh, just valuing education is enough. Never mind whether the child is gifted or their levels. I think that the community and the family is so important. But how do we overcome? I mean, I don't know if you've ever thought of that, but how do we overcome that. The other thing is you have said that that college education is a requirement for, and I agree. However, some people say, let's not, in other countries, let's not send these students to college because they are not good students. Let's just train them to be technicians or to be plumbers, etc. How do you respond to that? To those
Well, you have asked
two
me
issues?
two
Two
questions.
questions.
The first one is guarantee that my mother and my father, but my mother especially, with tears in her eyes, not knowing whether she would ever see me again, told me that even if I went to bed hungry, that I would go to college.
Wonderful.
And my mother, who only completed a third grade education, was the wisest person that you'll ever meet. She, in fact, during my early years here in this country, I went through a lot difficulties, and I sometimes I could only sleep 2 3 hours because I have part-time jobs and I had to go to school and take care of my younger brother who was 3 years younger, and it was tough. And many times I felt like I need to give up. I cannot continue this. But the words of my mother resonated with me every single
And may
day.
I say, because I read some of your former and you also mentioned that your family, even though your mother had a third grade education, there were always newspapers in your house and intellectual curiosity. And so many of our students, unfortunately, do not have that. And how do we overcome that, Dr. Padron?
Well, I have very strong feelings about this issue because I really feel that we have a deficit of understanding of what's really happening in our society. There are many families that, life happens to them more often than others. And it's true. At my house, when I was little, there were books, newspapers, and my grandparents, my mother would read to me every single night. And so I grew up loving reading, loving, education.
Valuing education.
But when you think about it, in many American homes today, there are no newspapers, there are no books, and it's a cycle of that repeats
Mhm.
itself. And frankly, many of the students that I see, because I've always believed and have said this publicly many times, talent is universal,
I know I have that.
but opportunity is
Is
not,
not.
right? And what I mean by that is that everyone has talent, but you need the opportunity to harness that talent. Many students today grow thinking that college is not for them, that they cannot afford it, that there is something that is beyond their means. And it's true. Most colleges are very, very expensive. Miami-Dade College is an exception. It's a very affordable institution. And besides that, there is a lot of financial aid that is provided to students. And I see the students, when you give them that opportunity, when you believe in them, when they find someone who really cares, who mentors them, and make them believe in themselves and the fact that yes, they can, that makes all the difference in the world. Many of our students come to us unprepared for college. Many of them finish high school, and they decide to go work and make some money, and then they come back 2 3 years later because most of the jobs that they get do not provide enough income for them to support not even themselves. And so when they come, they need to get some further education. They need to get some of the basic skills to be able to join the mainstream of academic life. But I can tell you, hundreds and hundreds of people in this community who today are neurosurgeons, who are CPAs, who are heads of corporations, who started at Miami-Dade College with deficiencies and were able to overcome them. And were able to find people within that institution that believed in them and gave them the encouragement and the support they needed
And
to
how
be
do
able to
you
succeed.
how do you find those people? Because here's the other thing. We say, well, a teacher, once the research is that the most influential thing in a child's education is their home life. But once they are already in school, once we take that, the most influential thing to uh, create success in a student is the quality of the teachers. But then again, and I suppose you have the same problem in when you were the president. Every there are fabulous teachers, wonderful teachers, but there are also some average teachers, and hopefully not bad teachers. But how how do we ensure that we're able to do all that for all of our students when in fact the workforce also is not uniformly all excellent, shall
Mhm.
I say.
Well, first of all, you have to create an environment of caring and nourishing.
Mhm.
And that's the first thing. And the people who work at that institution need to believe that the students come first and we're there for the students. Sometimes you have institutions where people feel that the institution is for them and not necessarily for the
The
students.
student.
And then you have to make sure you work with those students so they have a sense of belonging, a sense of ownership in the institution. We enroll a lot of students who come from very low income backgrounds,
Mhm.
and you should see those students how much care they take of this. You don't see graffiti on the walls. You don't see any issues, any fights, any issues among the students. It's because from day one that they get in there, they learn that that institution belongs to them, and that institution is there to support their success all throughout, their time at the institution. And that's why that institution has been so successful and so nationally rewarded and admired at all levels, because of the fact that the students graduate at the highest rates, the students transfer to other institutions at the highest rates, and when they transfer even to the Ivy Leagues, they perform at the same level or much higher than the native
That's
students
great.
who were handpicked on the basis of high GPAs and high SATs and high ACTs. And that make all of us at Miami-Dade College very, very, very
So,
proud.
how did you do that, Dr. Padron? How the first day that you became the president of Miami-Dade College, you had already some experience because you had been a president of one of the campuses, right?
Mhm.
But then, how did you create
Well,
this?
let me tell you, because it's not what I did; it is what we did. And what happens is you win with people. As much as you want to be able to be the one that does everything, you need to have people who believe in what you believe and people who are determined to bring about the conditions that would make the students successful. And we have been very lucky from day one. The thing that most people who visit the college from the outside always tells me that they have never gone to a college where people at all levels, from the custodians all the way to the presidency, care so much about the students, who are so determined to help the students succeed. And that is a blessing, and that is something that is the secret of and the sauce that makes that institution what it is. We are constantly, every single day, re-emphasizing the importance of understanding what our mission and what our vision is all about, and the sense of satisfaction, knowing that the students appreciate it. When I came in today, you surprised me with some information you got from a former student
Uh,
of mine.
Allow me to read it, and so our and by the way, I'm sure she's going to be listening into the program. This is a former student of Dr. Padron, who's a friend of mine. And actually, she was my former chief of staff. And I said, I'm going to be interviewing Dr. Padron. She said, oh my goodness, this is what she said. I, he was my teacher my first semester at Miami Dade College. She said, and I wrote it down, he was so charismatic, such a great sense of humor. He was so engaging. He enjoyed the interaction with our students. I never skipped class for him. It was such a pleasure. it during my first semester at Miami-Dade. So, and she said much more. That's all I wrote down. But yes, sir, your students adored you.
Well, you see, that's the greatest reward that we educators can get is when your students are able to come back and express those feelings because that's the trick.
Mhm.
That's what makes it. Those students are going to succeed in spite of all the odds, and I really feel that that's what institutions should be there for.
Well, she was a very successful person, achieved a master's degree, now is retired and is an artist. And yes, has had great success in her life, and still remembers you as
Well, it's wonderful to
a
know. It
highlighted,
really touches
yeah, a highlight
yeah.
in her life. Now, I want to ask you, because you have told us so much, you've shared so much of yourself with us. What has been your proudest moment, Dr. Padron, given all the success you've had in life?
There have been many. At every graduation, seeing students who nobody believed that they would ever get to that day and walk through the stage, see them graduate, go forward, and become good, responsible citizens, good professionals, and so forth and so on, is the greatest joy. It's the greatest satisfaction because that's what we're there for. There have been too many moments. I've been very privileged and have been humbled many, many times with recognitions and all that. But that's not what makes me be who I am. It is seeing the results of your work in the success of your students is definitely the most motivating factor in my life. I every time I go out, I run into students who either I taught in my early years or mostly because they attended the college and they knew about my work, etc., who all say so many wonderful, warming things about the institution and the role that the college played in changing their lives. And that's, I feel that I'm the richest guy in the world, very wealthy, not in terms of money, but in terms of the emotions that we received on daily basis from students who are very grateful
Mhm.
for the opportunity that was provided to them. It's ironic because I told you that I had applied to many schools
Mhm.
and then I was rejected by all of them.
Mhm.
The irony is that later in years, they all came back to offer me honorary doctorates, right? The Princeton, the Browns, the UPenn, and all of those institutions, which are very respectable institutions. But my message to them is always is there is something wrong when you're not able to recognize talent and then provide the opportunity because opportunity is everything. It's everything.
Opportunity is everything. Yes, yes, absolutely. I think so. And most of us have been blessed, and Miami-Dade College has given us so many of us an opportunity.
Mhm.
Absolutely. What that was what has been your darkest moment as a, well, any as a college president or as a human being? What?
As a human being, I have to tell you that the worst moment in my life was the day that I had to leave my parents behind because it was a very tough decision for them. I don't know, you see, my parents decided to risk everything to send us, my brother and I, to the United States to escape communism and to escape the regime in Cuba. So we could have a better life, we could live in freedom. And I just learned the day before that I was coming to the United States. It was very tragic because I just didn't know. I didn't know the culture, didn't know the language, didn't have any money, just brought what I was wearing. And my parents, the courage of my parents to do that, not knowing whether they would ever see us again, It's something that I don't know that I would have the same courage if I were in the same situation, having to send my son away, not knowing whether I would see him again, not knowing what would happen to him in a strange, different country. And so that was very difficult. And my beginning days in the United States were tough because I have to confess to you that I went to bed many days hungry, and it was difficult. And I had to walk 20 blocks back and forth to go to high school, and until I was able to, somebody gave me a bicycle, an old bicycle that broke all the time, but at least would get me there. And it was tough. It was tough. It was tough days, and I had to work. I almost slept 2, 3 hours a day because I had jobs. And on the weekends, I would go to the fields to pick up strawberries and tomatoes and things under the sun all the time. I during the afternoons, I would go downtown to McCrory's and J. Byron's stores that no longer exist, cleaning toilets and doing whatever need to be done. No regrets, though. I think those days helped me build character and helped me build, the person that I am. But that also gave me a responsibility. It gave me a responsibility to help do for others, all for all the blessings that I received. And that's what I have dedicated my life to.
Yes, sir. You are royalty, and time is almost up, and I am so sorry because I have like about 17 more questions for you, including the book fair. You've made it. You and Mitch Kaplan made it #1 in the United States. So many things that you've done besides the at the same time you were creating this amazing educational institution. It's been such a pleasure. Please come back, Dr. Padron, and visit because I have 17 more
Well,
questions
just
for you.
invite me and I'll be back. It
Oh,
will be
thank you so much.
a real pleasure.
Thank you very much. It's such a pleasure to have you. And I hate to close, but again, thank you very much. And to our listeners, please tune in for our next show. April 22nd. My guest will be the Aventura Mayor, Enid Weissman. And thank you and have a wonderful day. Thank you.